Making a team out of only brothers. That's the big topic for me today. There's still too much negativity going on, folks. I think it's the fact that there's no international rugby on this weekend. It's causing people to kind of lose their minds. And there's articles from different journalists who we all should not be reading, pointing fingers at each other. I'm mainly referencing the kind of Sansa nonsense that's been going on in recent times. Rather than just arguing with people online, how about we argue about something worthwhile? That being, who's got the best team made out of players who are all brothers? So the rules for this is, you need to pick... I've gone with the 23. Initially I picked the 15 and then I've added a bench. All these guys, there's at least two brothers. So if you pick one guy, you need to have a brother to go with that guy. That's the rule. I'm going to go through my 23. I probably could have done it better. But like I said, I picked the 15 and then I've picked 8 more guys for the bench. So if I'd been a bit more strategic about it, I probably could have picked like more the big name brothers to start and the lesser name brothers on the bench. But I didn't quite go into that level of detail. And my wife's taking the kids off to play. So I've got my window of time because stuck in lockdown here in New Zealand. Just had a COVID test today. That was a first. Something a bit different. But anyway, we're a minute 30 in. Let's get started. I'm going to start. The first surname I'm going to hit you with is this one. Alatoa at number 1. And Alatoa at number 3. So those are the two brothers to start us off. We've got Alan Alatoa, the Wallabies prop, and Michael Alatoa, his brother, Crusaders, and soon to be Leinster and Samoa prop. So two guys who both play international rugby. They play for a couple of the best teams in the Southern Hemisphere, like the Brumbies, although in recent years the Aussie Conference has struggled. They've been one of the better teams in Aussie rugby for a while, and the Crusaders certainly down here, and then Michael's going off to join Leinster, so he's not fond of joining teams that don't do that well, eh? So, yeah, man, both these guys, proper good props. I mean, Alan, to be fair, in recent times has kind of become a full-time tight head, but he used to play loose head. So I've kind of bent the rules a little bit to have two international props in my team of brothers. But that's how I'm starting off. Starting with the Alatoas. Hooker, I'm just going to put his initials here because he's got a long surname. And it's Aka van der Merwe, which means I need to put his brother Duhan in here. Scotland and British and Irish line. Duhan van der Merwe. One of the nice ones where you've got a brother who's a back and a brother who's a forward. A lot of the times the brothers play very similar positions. I guess it's something about general body shapes and whatnot. But Aka has only had a couple of caps for the Springboks, but he's a proper dynamic prop. I haven't seen much of what his line-out throwing's been like. It's been a bit hit and miss, but the dude in open play, kind of, you can see how these guys are brothers. I think he's nicknamed the Warthog because he's a bit of a barrel of a man, and when he gets some pace about him, he's very dynamic. And his brother, Duhan, I mean, the guy breaks defenders, breaks tackles for fun, doesn't he? So he's a proper quick, big unit out on the left wing. So, yeah, the Van der Merwe brothers. There you go. That's my hooker and my left wing. The next name, I'm going to put 3 of them, and it's probably a pretty obvious one. I'm going to put a Barrett in the second row. I'm going to put a Barrett in the number 10 jersey, and I'm going to put a Barrett in the number 15 jersey. So we've got 3 Barretts, which is good because it's an odd number of players in a 15. As I said, I picked the 15 first. Scott Barrett is the lock. He's, I don't know how many caps he's got for the All Blacks now, but he's one of our kind of 3 very good locks. He's a regular All Black. He's, I don't know, man. He captains the Crusaders. Nothing not to like about Scott Barrett. He's got a bit of everything about his game. His brother Bowden, who is the big brother of the 3, believe it or not, even if he's shorter than the other 2. He's been World Player of the Year a couple of times. Seems to be a bit relegated to the bench at the moment, but I still back him to kind of do a job at number 10. And then his brother Geordie, that big old boot of his, a fair bit of height. Chuck him in at 15. and you've got 3 Barretts in your team. The All Blacks recently have been trying a 3 Barrett bench, but let's go with 3 Barrett starters for this one, I reckon. Next, and excuse me, man, like I'm more familiar with in Southern Hemisphere New Zealand, Southern Hemisphere brothers compared to Northern Hemisphere ones, but I do have some Northern guys. I've gone with Sam Whitelock. There's a few Whitelocks who've played rugby at the top level, so I've chucked one in the second row and then one in the back row. So that's Sam Whitelock as your locking partner of Scott. Those guys know each other pretty well. He's 32 years old, but he's been in top form, man. Sam Whitelock. He's had a cracking kind of 18 months really since we got back from COVID. I mean, he came back from Japan and just, yeah, man, back to his best. And then his brother Luke's no longer in New Zealand rugby. He's had, I think, around about 10 caps for the All Blacks. Captained the All Blacks before, proper tackling machine. Good offload on him. Not the biggest ball carrying number 8, but can certainly fit in pretty well, I think. Luke Whitelock, 30 years old, so he's still got enough about him. Number 6. Sorry for the constant New Zealand theme, but apparently we've got a lot of players who are brothers. I've gone with Akira Ioane. Like I mentioned, Luke doesn't maybe get the ball over the line a bit, but Akira certainly does. And Akira has been accused of not having the highest work rate, whereas Luke absolutely does. So they're kind of a pretty good duo. Akira, that means I put his brother Rico on the right wing. He's becoming a bit of a midfielder at the moment, but Rico seems to be getting some of that top line pace back. So you've got a very dynamic ball carrying loose forward and a very quick guy out on the right wing. Lots of international experience. So yeah, man, lots of All Blacks in this team. But do I have any other All Blacks in the starting 15? I don't think so. I think that's my last kind of starting All Black. But there you go. Number 7 is an interesting one. Because some of these guys, you can see there's a certain number of caps kind of difference between one brother and another. I've gone with the 2 Davises. So I've gone with some Welshmen here. I've gone with the Fox and the Cub. James Davis doesn't have the kind of caps that his brother's got. I've seen him play for Wales. He's a pretty dynamic kind of fetcher. He's quick. I know that's the kind of main thing about him, but he's just quick. Former Sevens guy, right? Like really, really, really quick. So I kind of like that combination with Whitelock, Davis, and Ioane, like a big traditional ball carrier, really quick, like kind of, I guess you can compare him to Michael Hooper in his style, maybe, and then like Sam Whitelock as you kind of, not Sam Whitelock, Luke Whitelock as your work rate guy. So yeah, nice balanced back row, and then Jonathan Davis at 13, the kind of consummate outside centre. He's 32 years old, but he's still got a bit of class about him. Does a bit of everything well. Maybe you could argue his kicking game could use a bit of work, but I've got Geordie and Bodie there to do most of the kicking, so he's just going to focus on pure midfield duties. And if he does need a bit of help with some kicking, I've gone with a Scottish connection here with the Horn brothers. Now, number 9's a bit of a tricky one actually to fill, but I've gone with George Horn. He's kind of a guy who seems a bit underrated. I know Scotland seem to rotate through who's going to be their number 9. It seems to be a real mixed bag, but I quite like George Horn, so I'm pretty happy to put him in my team. Pete Horn is a guy who gets a fair bit of criticism, but again, he can play 10 as well, so he's got a bit of a distribution game about him as well. It's maybe not like the biggest ball-carrying midfield, that's for sure. Like you don't have like a Tuilangi. That's unfortunate that Tuilangi, Manu, all his brothers are getting all getting a bit old to really pick. But yeah, you are kind of missing a big ball carrying midfielder in that pack. But you've got Duhan, who's a big ball carrier. So I'm going to kind of rely on him to get us through some of those kind of hard yards. For the bench, remembering I picked the bench separately because I initially wasn't going to do a bench. I've gone with the Youngs brothers to cover hooker and to cover number 9. That's Tom and Ben Youngs. Again, number 9's a pretty tricky one. I mean, you guys will probably remind me of some other guys who are brothers and can slot into that position, but yeah, there's not a heck of a lot. I think kind of the Lonigans from Australia, the Youngs, I think they might have had one other option, but it's tricky to make sure every position is covered. Who else did I have? I had the Fergusons, actually. I got Xander, and I've got Matt. So a couple more Scotsmen. One went on the Lions tour, and Matt seems to be kind of covering ground pretty well in Scotland as that kind of number 8 to go alongside his 2 back row partners. Irish connection, youngsters, but the Wycherley brothers to cover loose head prop and to cover kind of lock loose forward. That's Josh is the prop, and what's the name of the Finan Wycherley. He got his Irish cap recently, so Josh as loose head cover is not capped yet, but Finan Wycherley has been capped. So those guys in a couple of years' time, if you were to do this video, may have kind of a fair few caps amongst them. And the last 2 guys I have gone for, I've gone with the Pietau brothers, Siale and Charles. So I don't have like an out-and-out 10 on the bench, but I mean, Geordie Barrett or Pete Horn can cover 10 if needs be. Siale can cover the midfield, and Charles can cover the back 3. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you could arguably change some of the starting guys to bench guys. Like you could start Charles and bench Geordie Barrett, or I don't know, you could start Ferguson and bench Michael Alatoa, or you could start Ben Youngs. You know, you could go about it many ways. But yes, there you go, folks. Bit of fun, if nothing else. There's no international rugby on this weekend, but put your mind to it, man. It can be a bit tricky, but put your mind to it and see if you can make a proper team of brothers to fill out all the positions. I'll give you a few kind of leg ups in case you're looking for some names. Obviously, the Vunipola brothers, you could have Billy Veen, you could have Mako in that squad as well. Arguably, you would have better, at least more experienced loose head cover if you had Mako there. But then if you take out Wycherley, then you need a new loose head. It's kind of, once you start taking out one, you need to fiddle with more. So you got the Vunipolas, you got the Currys, obviously. Ben and Tom play pretty similar positions, which does make it a little bit trickier at times. If you want another set of 3, you got the Dupree brothers, Dan, Jean-Luc, and Rob Dupree. You don't have to pick all of them, but you got 3 guys there to choose from, and then you got forward-back combos as well. You've got the Dutoys, that's Peter, Steph, and Johan. Johan obviously hasn't made it on the international scene yet, but he's played at the next level down. And Peter Steph, World Player of the Year, so he's a good option for you. The Greys from Scotland, but again, both kind of locks. So if you want a couple of locks, you can chuck the Greys in there. The Saviers, Artie and Julian. Julian may be a bit long in the tooth at this point, but certainly his brothers world class. The Matavesi brothers, if you're looking for a Fiji connection. The Faengas from Australia, there's 3 of them to pick from. I'm not sure if those guys are all still playing or not. The Proctors, Matt and Billy. Duplessis, Bismarck and Yanni. There's heaps of options, man. You can go nuts thinking of a team of brothers. But yeah, I don't mind this team. Like I said, I do think maybe they could use a big ball carrying midfielder is one thing I would like to see, but I'm pretty happy at 10, at 15. I'm happy with the locks. The front row looks pretty strong to me. I mean, Van der Merwe, Duhan and Van der Merwe Akara are guys to get the ball over the advantage line if they are missing that kind of in some other areas. Back row, pretty happy. A little bit of inexperience with the Wycherleys on the bench, but those guys have got great prospects ahead of them. And you got experienced hand like Siale Pietau there to help them through it. So, yeah, guys, happy days. Happy days. Fingers crossed. COVID test for me is going to come back negative. I don't have any symptoms, but yeah, my daughter's childcare had a positive case. So me and the whole fam had to go get tested this morning. Fun times. Waiting in a queue of cars for an hour or so to to get kids 5 and 3, and then me and my missus tested. But I mean, blessings to all those people who do that job, because that is a rubbish job. If I'm complaining about sitting there in the car for an hour with 2 rowdy kids, fancy being the guys who are having to stand there to do all the COVID testing. So not a fun job. So yeah, thank you guys. I hope this is a bit of fun. There's no international on this weekend, but there's some Curry Cup on, I believe. So there is rugby on, and then we look forward to the rest of the Rugby Championship resuming. Let's talk about the on-field stuff instead of all the boardroom nonsense, which we don't need to hopefully worry ourselves too much about. And yeah, guys, do give it a crack. I'm keen. I've definitely forgotten some brothers, so remind me of those. Those are just the ones that I could kind of think of, and I did a little bit of Googling. But yeah, there's definitely more brothers that you can pick from, and different combinations that you can slot them together. But yeah, guys, hopefully this is a bit of fun. Positive vibes. Let's keep everybody smiling. And yeah, you guys take care. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.